The Pittsburgh Steelers attended one pro day over another, and it caught headlines. But the way that has been misinterpreted and the message that the Steelers meant to send by that should be very clear. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. And today, we're talking about the Steelers' decision to attend Iowa State's Pro Day over USC and has made fans and media question where they are headed in the NFL draft and really who they are eliminating from their draft board, because this turn of events, this decision by Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, and company has made many question if the Pittsburgh Steelers have eliminated Jordan Addison from their draft consideration, when in reality, they certainly have not. And there are reasons to believe that they certainly have not. This is not the first time the Pittsburgh Steelers have done something like this. For starters, the Steelers do not go west. They never have gone west. They've never been a team to attend USC's Pro Day or Oregon's Pro Day. There's a reason that Noah Sewell hasn't been talked about. It's because he's so far west that the Pittsburgh Steelers do not go that west. However, if you're already in Iowa, you might as well bounce over to USC. And the Pittsburgh Steelers were at Iowa the day before to attend Iowa's Pro Day. Take a look at Lucas Van Ness, Jack Campbell, those types of guys. But instead of going to Southern California, the Steelers stayed in Iowa, went to Iowa State's Pro Day, and the big names that caught headlines were Xavier Hutchinson, which is another wide receiver, and Anthony Johnson Jr., a defensive back that the Steelers were looking at heavily, apparently. And I think that's the message. The message is not, oh, Jordan Addison is gone. If Jordan Addison was gone, the Pittsburgh Steelers would have never drafted Juju Smith-Schuster, because they didn't attend Juju Smith-Schuster's Pro Day either, because they don't go that west. If Jordan Addison was gone, Kenny Pickett wouldn't be the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback right now, because the Pittsburgh Steelers did not treat Kenny Pickett the way that they treated everybody else. They attended his Pro Day, yes, but all you heard about throughout the entire draft cycle was how Mike Tomlin was taking these quarterbacks out to dinner. Kenny Pickett did not get taken to dinner. Kenny Pickett did not get any special anything from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why? Because they were creating a little bit of a smoke screen. And I'm not saying that the Steelers have the same idea with Jordan Addison. I'm not sitting here and saying that the Steelers are looking at Jordan Addison and saying, oh, we have to create a diversion so that people do not know that we're going with a wide receiver at 17 and that wide receiver is going to be Kenny Pickett's favorite wide receiver. That is our move. The Steelers don't need to do that. Jordan Addison will likely be there at 17. If he's gone a little bit beforehand, he's gone a little bit beforehand. But the Steelers' interest in him is not going to divert anybody from drafting or not drafting Jordan Addison. There is no way that if you pass up on Jordan Addison in the first round, he is going to be there in the second round, and teams understand that. So the Steelers' interest in this guy means literally nothing to anybody, maybe outside of the AFC North. So you could rule out the Steelers sitting around going, Jordan Addison is not our guy. It's over. You could remove him from the draft boards, all of that. Jordan Addison is still very much so the Pittsburgh Steelers guy. And I don't know if he's first on their list, but I do know that the interest is not gone because they didn't attend his Pro Day, a Pro Day that they literally never attend ever. It did send a message, though. It did send a very clear message, and I think it sent two of them. And I think the bigger first-round question for the Pittsburgh Steelers is now, are they more interested in a cornerback that everybody believes that they are interested in, that Mel Kiper Jr. is tossing into his first-round latest mock draft, that everybody has their eyes on with Joey Porter Jr. and Christian Gonzalez and Devin Witherspoon and Deonte Banks and Julius Brents and Cam Smith and Emmanuel Forbes? Or are the Pittsburgh Steelers saying, look it, people are just catching on to the fact that the Steelers need a wide receiver, but we've known this the whole time. And we want to load up that wide receiver room. And the smokescreen that we have created is not one of Jordan Addison, but it was one of Art Rooney saying at the beginning of this entire process, oh, we feel comfortable with the weapons that are in place. Well, if you feel comfortable with the weapons that are in place, you wouldn't be scouting wide receivers the way that the Steelers are scouting wide receivers. And they have good reason to. And I talked about this yesterday, is that the Pittsburgh Steelers have 4 guys on their roster right now. And those 4 guys, 2 of them are starter capable. One of them's never played an NFL snap, and the other one is a punt returner. It's not ideal, especially for a second-year quarterback. And that second-year quarterback, you could go through this entire process and say, okay, well, the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't change offensive coordinators because they are being cautious with Kenny Pickett. They will not get rid of Mitch Trubisky no matter how insane his cap hit is because they are being cautious with Kenny Pickett. They are comfortable with 2 starting quality wide receivers and a guy that has never touched an NFL football field and still being cautious with Kenny Pickett. That doesn't add up. And the Steelers' way is not to trust Calvin Austin to come out and be a superstar. Do they hope that he's a superstar? Yes. Is he going to get every opportunity to be a superstar? Yes. But the Pittsburgh Steelers follow a strict code of honor, and that strict code is you prove yourself before you hold any grounds in our organization. That is how this works. Kevin Dotson had to beat out some undrafted, unknown guy who never caught on again in the NFL. Calvin Austin is going to have to come in here and compete with whoever. And if a rookie comes in here, they're going to have to come in here and they're going to have to compete with whoever. But the Pittsburgh Steelers know that they have to add talent at wide receiver because there is no way that they could look at Kenny Pickett and say, we are doing all of this to assure your success. But the one place that we are lacking in is your options to throw the ball to. That doesn't make any sense. And because of that reason, Jordan Addison is still very much so on their draft board, because if Jordan Addison is there, I do not care how much they liked Xavier Hutchinson. I do not care how much they liked this guy or that guy. If Jordan Addison is there at 17, Kenny Pickett will get a say, and Kenny Pickett's say will be draft Jordan Addison, and the Steelers will listen. Meanwhile, they're looking at Anthony Johnson Jr. about playing nickel, kind of that versatile Cam Sutton role. And that's a guy that you have to keep an eye on, because if the Steelers are attending pro days for anybody, it's defensive guys. It's not wide receivers. They could care less how fast you could run down the field and catch a football from a guy with no defense while you have no defense. What they want to see is, how well are these defenders? How much can we scout these guys before the draft? And Anthony Johnson Jr. being talked about as a nickel / slot guy is very significant, because the Steelers, while they definitely need an outside corner, very much so need an inside cornerback way more than they need one to eventually replace Patrick Peterson and Levi Wallace. They need a guy to play slot right now, because Arthur Millette, they tried every book in their shelf, every trick that they had to get this guy off the field last season, and it didn't work. They would love to do it again this year, and they're scouting those types of guys. They were in Iowa to scout Lucas Van Ness and Jack Campbell. They didn't go to USC because USC offers one guy, and that guy is Jordan Addison. So let me tell you this. This is how I envision the Steelers draft board after a week of scouting, after free agency has come and gone and the Pittsburgh Steelers are adjusting. I look at their draft board and I think wide receiver is very much so high on their list. I think that wide receiver is possibly the highest position on their list and has moved into that forefront because they were able to get so many defensive guys, because they realized that this cornerback class is so stacked that, yes, they could find somebody at 17 that they believe is a superstar, but they might be able to find somebody at 32 that they believe is a superstar. And truthfully, they might be able to find somebody at 49 that they believe is a superstar, or 80 that they believe is a superstar. Wide receiver is much slimmer pickings. They want a guy that they are assured is going to be another George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. Jordan Addison is definitely on their list. There's no way that he's not. I don't care if they attended a pro day or not. Jordan Addison is there. And the Pittsburgh Steelers asked Kenny Pickett, which one of these wide receivers do you want us to draft? He's not going to pick any other name except for Jordan Addison. That's going to hold so much ground. But I think a guy like Anthony Johnson Jr., I think these versatile corner safety guys, I think they're sleepers for the Steelers draft board right now, because I think the Steelers look at it and go, yeah, dude, we could find an outside corner, and we want an outside corner, and that's on our priority list. But we really want a defensive back who could play the nickel, who could play the slot, because we don't have that, and we've lacked one since Mike Hilton left. I say that's on their list too. And I say that holds higher ground than Xavier Hutchinson in the Steelers' decision to go to Iowa or stay in Iowa over going to Southern California. And I would not read any more into it. The Steelers will draft Jordan Addison if he's available and if that's the direction that they want to go. If wide receiver is their first pick, Jordan Addison is the first name on that list. I do not care who was at his pro day or who wasn't at his pro day. And don't read too much into where the Pittsburgh Steelers end up. There's a strategic plan, and that plan is to find certain guys. It's not always the biggest name. It's sometimes the Anthony Johnson Jr. over the Xavier Hutchinson. And you got to read into that a little bit when you're following Mike Tomlin and the Steelers scouting trail.